Hello, planet Earth. What is
Yeah.
up?
Hey, it's the week before the place where I'll be in your place. How about
Yeah, it's the
that?
big event.
How about that?
We'll invite the neighbors over for a big outdoor podcast. Hi,
There we go.
everyone. Let's
Hi.
podcast.
It's live from Machete Comics. That's Chris Machete
Yeah.
over there.
Hello.
And that's me over here.
Hopefully, you saw the promo that's up, so you know that we're going to be talking today a bit about some wrestling songs. Some of them are so bad, they're good. And some
Yeah.
of them are so bad that they're bad. We were just discussing this before we came on the air.
Sure.
So
There was
we're going to
some.
hit that in a minute or two here. We're also
Yeah.
going to talk about our remote view. Oh, so for our conspiracy theory, we're going to talk about remote viewing. And this is not the paranormal kind of psychic kind of going into meditation thing. This is one that the government uses on a totally different way. And it's using your brain,
Ooh.
the right side and the left side. And I don't know how to do this, obviously, or else I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you folks right now. Sorry, I would be manipulating somewhere. I'm not going to tell you what I would be doing if I could. Never mind. So anyway, the government would use this about using the left side and the right side of the brain, and it's really, really cool. I want to explain how they say they do it. And maybe you can try it at home. And if you folks figure out you can do it, let me know and we'll team up and form a new super group. Because it's totally Professor Xavier stuff, right? It's great. It's really, really cool. To start off, though, dude, let's talk about the Mandalorian because the season's over now, right? That's it.
Yeah. And
How much of it did you take in?
I'm still on. I actually have two to go. I haven't actually watched the finale yet. I have two to go. It's been busy, so I'm going to try to jam it in here the next 2 days. But I'm the last two episodes I'm behind. I've read about them, but I just haven't physically watched them yet. So
Yeah. So overall, as I was talking about, I put a blog up about I forget was the spoiled Star Wars fan or something or whatever it was. And it was funny because the next one I wanted to do was, is every Star Wars fan a whiny douchebag? And some of the replies are like, some of the replies too, I saw them. There was 3 replies that were like negative against me. It was like, okay, I could explain myself in these, but you know what? I'm not even going to. So it's so funny how stupid some people are, like in the Star Wars universe. I'll admit it, man. Star Wars universe is filled with a lot of whiny douchebags. But what we're seeing here is they're about to fix a lot of the errors that most diehard Star Wars fans like myself are complaining about in the newer movies with Rey Skywalker and such. And you have to sit down a little bit through a little bit of information to get a good story. And if you don't understand that, then you shouldn't be watching Star Wars, my friends. You can go back to watching the stuff that was done from the very last movies if you're not into a whole story making sense. So that's what they're doing here in Mando. One thing, though, I got to point out, Grogu is just awesome. I can't stop loving Grogu. It's like more Grogu. Now, what I was thinking, and here's what everybody's thinking. How the hell are they going to make Grogu more cute yet effective in the new season? Now, do we have a clip of that somewhere here, don't we? Check out this.
So what do you think?
They do nice work, I'll give them that, but Grogu is too young to operate heavy machinery. Maybe when he's older.
No.
What do you mean, no?
No.
I think he's saying he's old enough to operate it.
Yes.
Get him out of there.
No.
No, at least let him try it out in my office.
Yes.
No, this is not a good idea. Come on. Hey,
Would you look at that?
Yes.
yes, what?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Okay. You can see his little hand hitting the button. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Let's go back to split screen. I can talk to you about that. That was freaking great. I don't know how to do that. I forget.
Gotcha.
Plus, my eyes are watering from watching little Grogu do that. Isn't that the best? Have you seen that?
No, that's my first time seeing that clip. 'Cause I
How
haven't-
cool was that, dude?
It's so cool. And I think it's funny because they're just taking so much time with character development there.
Mm-hmm.
Like he could have been cute and then by episode 4 of the original Mandalorian, he could have already been a teenager and then into something. But they are just running this thing out, you know what I mean, for a long, long time. You know,
It's really good. I thought that was so. I never would have thought of that.
it's really cool. You know, one thing I noticed in that clip too, which I didn't pay much attention to before, but because it's in my headphones, the ASMR work on Mando's voice.
Oh, isn't it great?
This is why the kids love it so much, because they're all into the ASMR stuff. But that little clip is like, well, he's a little too young, and you're like, okay, now I hear this, like, and that's why when I think the reveal of his helmet when he originally got it off and it was Pedro Pascal, people are like, oh, okay. Maybe they were expecting somebody that looked like Seth Rollins or somebody under there, but it was like, it's like, okay, sure. But
Maybe they were expecting Luke Skywalker, huh?
yeah, or so. But the voice, but that ASMR work on the show, for sound is, I don't know if people are talking about it enough, because when it's super hot and the action is in your face, it's really cool. But those quiet moments there are I think just as important to that show as anything else, because it's just like him and Grogu, and he's like, all right, listen, you're too young. All right, listen.
Yeah, I don't like
no,
this.
you can't. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so quiet, and you're like, you gotta, what's he saying? I don't know. It's really cool.
And then you par that with Grogu's little his little noises he makes, right?
Yeah.
So
good.
you can imagine, because he stays. Just a spoiler alert. He stays in that. He does get to stay in that, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So wait till you see, like, you can imagine later little things. He's like, no, and stopping somebody, or yes, and helping somebody, or whatever. It's just, but I love the way you can see his hand going, yes. One other spoiler is just him walking through town. They should have put like do.
Well, it's gonna be like that. You used to love that Blur song with the milk.
Yeah, the little milk. It's kind of like that. But he's saying hi to everybody, stuff, and walking up to people, and just hey, man, yes. And he's going up there going, yes. Oh, so isn't that brilliant though? I thought that was great. I was thinking, see, I go right to the weapon or some new power, right? But that is just brilliant to put him in an IG-11 or whatever that was.
You need to listen to Jon Favreau on Smartless.
Oh, he's in the last episode as well, by the way,
because he does a whole thing, just talks about how it all came together. It kind of with his buddies. So it was really, it's a really good interview.
Well, I really enjoyed the series. Of course, a lot of people are complaining about it because they're saying it's too slow. There's so much stuff that they're bringing in that leads to the last 3 movies, and they're going to fix it. And I really hope, here's what I'm hoping they're going to do, buddy. I hope they're going to make it that Palpatine was lying about being Rey's grandfather. I think that, I know, like, at the time it seemed like, oh, I can't just say he was lying, but now it's kind of like, do something, because the opportunities of them saying, okay, well, he's not really your father, but guess who is? Holy shit! It's got to be Obi-Wan. Like, it's got to be Obi-Wan. And then think of the stories. Yeah, and then think of the stories you launch forward with.
But I wonder about the. I wonder if in the next Obi-Wan series, at the end of it, he does something like, "But I'm going to bring my daughter out," and then it's like, what? And that
leads into the movie. Wouldn't that be great?
Into the movie. That would be the ideal. People are like, what do you mean, daughter? Then they got to spend the first part of that movie going backwards about the lying that you talked about, or a side scene that was happening behind the scenes while he was trying to convince him that he was the, it's cool. But I liked it when when you talked about before about, cloning the hand and that she might be a part of something. I do still like and I didn't hate the clone thing all the way, but I definitely wanted her to be more.
Well, see, she was the daughter of Palpatine's son. And Palpatine didn't like his son because, he was wanted to be good. He didn't want to be evil. It's just too perfect of a story.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it could be like, nah, it's not what happened at all. And there's so many things like that in Star Wars, like with Uncle Owen and Luke, man. Like, no, you didn't, Nah,
it's funny too, because you could, they're smart enough writing now that they could write this so well that they actually make you like the last 3.
That's what I'm saying, buddy.
By the way they turn the story, where they go, now that was great. That made sense. And And then you're like,
They could.
because that's the only way they're going to be able to rescue this thing.
Yeah, I think the other. You're totally right. I totally agree with you. It's a great point. I also think that some people forget that these are TV shows we're watching. These aren't these multi-million-dollar movies that we're watching. This is a TV series. This is like Three's Company, man. Like, come on. Like back in the day, this is like Knight Rider or whatever. You know what I mean? Like this is television, friends. And to have the bar of the television storytelling, graphics, characters, everything being this high, I think a lot of the whiny bitch Star Wars fans are forgetting this and not taking in for the good for the bad. And usually I'm the guy who's like, oh, this sucked, that sucked, but I am also the guy that's like, nah, if it's really good, it's really good.
Yeah.
And I think this is great. I think all the TV shows, I can't think of a TV show that Star Wars has put out that I've been like, okay, well, I can't watch this. Whereas Marvel's put out some where I don't think I made it through Hawkeye. I didn't make it through Luke Cage. There's two right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, can you think of a Star Wars TV series, like the new ones, not the old cartoon ones, the new ones?
I liked everything they've done. I've absolutely loved everything they've done.
Now, can you think of a Marvel TV show that you didn't watch? Yeah, there's like a bunch, right?
I mean, I was really struggling with Falcon.
Well, there you go. That's
Winter Soldier. I mean, I didn't think it was terrible, but I was like, okay, it's just kind of out there for the sake of being out there. I didn't hate it.
Did you make it through it all?
I did.
You did.
But I was also like, I'm fine if that's just what it is.
That was also during COVID too, wasn't it? We were all just binge watching everything.
I'm kind of like, I'm fine if that's all it is. And sometimes it's okay if it's just one season,
Yeah. I went back and was watching Obi-Wan again. Holy crap, that was good.
Can't wait.
We went back and watched the original one, right? Like,
I'm just saying, I can't wait.
For the next one, yeah. The next one's going to be Ahsoka, and we're going to get to see some more of Hayden Christensen in that one, because of course he was Ahsoka's Jedi Master, right?
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah, teacher. So that'll be really good too. And I'm the more of him and Vader, the better. If you ask me, man. As I was saying, like, I want more Vader, and I got that.
I think you're going to get your Vader show. I just don't think there's any possible way they can not do a Vader show.
I think they should do a movie.
Well, that's not a movie or whatever it's going to be, but something that's going to be tied in there. And maybe it goes from Rey into Vader.
Mm-hmm. There's all these new comic book lines out now that are pre-Star Wars stuff, right? Like when the Jedi started. There's some really cool stuff that can go from in the comic book that did really, really well. But as well as we all know that in the stories too, we're getting Thrawn, right? Which is going to be fantastic. What a great storyline that's going to be. There's a couple things I don't want to spoil for you that I won't mention at the end, but we're already finding out some key things about things like the stormtroopers in the new movies. We find out about their upgrades and stuff, which is pretty handy. I found. I liked all the stuff that we're hearing about the cloning and how the Imperials I liked hearing how they stayed in the game. Kid stays in the picture, and they did some terrible, terrible things to stay in the picture.
Yeah, I was hoping that it would come back around to Imperial, because I just you just can't ignore. You can't. It's like you can't. You can't, it's like any kind of politics. You can't ignore the Republicans, even if they don't win for 16 years. They're still cooking something up in the back.
Yeah, right.
They're still cooking something up.
You're right. They are, and they were. Yeah. So you get to find out more about this. Andor, I didn't watch properly, and I forgot about it because something else came out. I think I was on the last two episodes, so I'm going to rewatch that from the beginning because I remember it being really cool as well. As I say, you and I both like seeing the seedy side of the Star Wars planets, right? And that's what a lot of these do, is they give the fan service for that kind of thing,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm greedy when it comes to this stuff, man.
Yeah,
it's
me
like,
too.
Give me what I want, man. I paid my dues when I was a kid. And that's what some people were hacking on the fact that I laid down the fact that, yeah, man, I've been watching and buying since 1977. Oh, another one of these guys. Yeah, another one of these guys. Up yours, buddy. Pfft. How long have you been watching Star Wars for? 5 years?
Yeah, everyone's in it now.
I'm joking about that's expanding on the whole douchebaggery of it. Which is funny.
So the question is, are Star Wars fans whiny little bitches? I would say, I mean, we're not, but there's a couple that are.
I think there's quite a few, to be honest with you. Yeah. I think it's hard to respect Star Wars fans. I want to write a blog about it, but I really think it is. I see it. I get it.
I think Ted 2. Did you see that scene in Ted 2?
No.
When, Ted 2. They're coming up to Comic-Con, and these guys. They almost hit these guys dressed up like Darth Vader and everything. and they're like, hey, stop taking yourself so seriously, and fuck you, back and forth. And the girlfriend is with what's with these Star Trekkies, and they're like, whoa, these are Star Wars guys. Like everyone, like, you know what I mean? Like it's a great scene.
We can hack on them, but you can't. You don't get it. Right on. That's awesome. Okay, yeah. So Mandalorian. If you haven't seen the Mandalorian, better watch it now because you want to go back and watch it.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of information in there. I won't ruin the last 2 episodes for you.
No, we're gonna watch it. We're gonna
Grogu.
get through. Oh, I lost you.
Yeah.
No, there he is. He's back now.
I dropped the elbow on the button,
on the mic,
like right on the button, and with me dropping the elbow on the mic, let's move on to our next one. Do we have a wrestling clip or no? I guess we don't have a wrestling enter.
We used to have a ding ding ding, but it's gone.
That's okay. So we're going to go into our wrestling again, which we've been talking a lot about lately. I'm just loving wrestling lately. How about you?
Well, like anything else, I dive into. I read a lot about it because I just don't get a chance to watch as much. I record it and I pre-record it, but unless something is, like Raw and SmackDown are back to what they were.
Unfortunately, let's talk about that for a minute about Raw and SmackDown because I just came in just before WrestleMania, a few months before that, because I saw the pay-per-view also before that, and I was really enjoying it. And now I'm not. I can't even make it through. I couldn't make it through the last Raw. And one thing that I was mentioning when I was watching it was that I was predicting everything that was going to happen, right down to the ring interference to who was going to win the match.
Well, there's a formula, and that's what. So the thing is like coming into WrestleMania, it's just such a thing. Like you got to build all these storylines and all the rest of it to come in, and then I think people get a bit of like hangover off of WrestleMania, but you're already right into Backlash. You're already right into something, so you have to start with new storylines. But they're gonna do a brand split, which is why SmackDown was shit the other day because they don't want to start any new storylines because everyone's moving into
but you can still
rosters.
have a good match still, can't you? Like I don't know, it just seemed like a throwaway. And when you have that much attention,
I think AEW benefits from the Monday Night Raw.
Oh, they do. They benefit huge.
SmackDown thing because they get to kind of go, all right, we're going to give the wrestling fans this thing. So, I mean, they've sold. I don't know what the future of the WWE is going to look like, but I just think that there's just nothing to sink your teeth into now. And this is why this is the interesting part about the Cody thing and Roman, and people are like, well, Cody didn't win, so now what? And Paul or Triple H was like, well, isn't it more interesting now that he didn't win? Because now he's got to chase this thing down. He's got to go after Brock. I'm like, that's the only really leftover remnant of that, where people are like, okay, now Cody's got to do this. Now he's got to battle for the next year against Brock and all these people that are going to come against him. But you know what's very interesting to me? I'm not sold that Kevin and Sammy are going to hold the titles much longer.
No,
it's over already.
That'll be flipped. Yeah,
it's
I know.
Over already. I know. And I think that heightened thing.
Let's just go right back to the Uzos again. And it's gonna be like,
but I don't mind it being on them. There's no one else there's no one else that I think.
Well, that's the thing. But that's okay. So I just called a very obvious storyline, and if that's what happens, you know what I mean? AEW. I watch AEW as well, and in my humble opinion, I like AEW a lot better because I don't know who's going to win some of these matches. I like the blood because I find it hard to believe that somebody's going to punch somebody in the head 10 times with a huge fist and we're not going to see any kind of blood or any kind of, that's redonkulous to me. Something like I can see you're doing a pile driver, you're doing a suplex, there's no blood, but some of the stuff they want the fans to believe that they're doing in the WWE without any blood is redonkulous. And I watch all kinds of old WWF and E, and there was blood and all that stuff, and it was awesome when it was needed.
I think you're going to see it come back in WWE. I did read something about it the other day saying that they were pushing it, and I think it's going to be Brock and Cody.
Yeah, because they actually stopped the match between Edge and Finn there. But so I don't know, man. So AEW right now, so they're coming up for their big pay-per-view, and it's going to be in London, England. And CM Punk is coming back. It looks like they're going to split into two sanctions too, like Raw and SmackDown are doing as well, right? Which, they got enough wrestlers for it because the other rumors that Drew McIntyre's right behind him. So could you imagine him debuting at this London one as well? I think he could probably take the Dark Order back over where Brody Lee passed away. I think he could slide right into that, and that would be huge. And they'd be doing something for Brody Lee. Wow, that would be something. But
I'm not sure that's going to happen. But
no, I'm just saying. Could you imagine though, dude? No, I'm just
it
throwing
would
out
be,
like
it would be huge. But you know what?
because their opportunity with this big pay-per-view in London, man, is massive. Now, if you could throw anybody in there that like, because there's rumors of a lot of people leaving WWE, right? Like, who do you think they could pop in there logistically that would make
they have
that?
to. The thing is, to me, I think the deal has to be done soon and then announced because they want to put like 70,000 people in there, and AEW doesn't have the people in there that can do 70,000. Not even Punk, because AEW. I wouldn't be surprised, dude, when Punk comes back. He's booed out of the building because people are looking at him excitingly as coming in to rescue the company, where in fact he actually almost tore it apart. And I think those AEW fans are going to turn on him.
Well, they'll bring him in as a heel then. What a perfect way to bring him in as a heel.
That's going to be great. Now, as far as the guys from WWE goes, I mean, I'm not sold that. Well, you know, I think AEW is going to go as stupid as this is. I think AEW are going to snag Goldberg because
that was the other one I was going to mention.
His contract's up, and I'm still not sold that even sells a ticket. But McIntyre would be great, but it would have to be a big announcement. I love the guy. I thought COVID destroyed him. Unfortunately, that kick when he kicked Brock Lesnar out of the ring at that Royal Rumble that Edge came back in was one of the loudest, biggest, most over pops in the history of the business. Right. And that was his superstar moment. And then it got buried by COVID and he never recovered. So I don't know how that's going to work. Like, I just don't know. There's not enough big guys in AEW to go against them. That's the other problem. That anyone cares about. You've got Big Cass and you've got what's his name? There's one other guy there, but there's not enough big guys that
well, they got a few now. They're coming in now. Yeah, they got a few. I'm noticing that more and more that the big guys are squaring off, but they also have the smaller guys. Like, you got like the champion, man. It's like he's one of the best champions I've seen in a long time. So him and Sammy Guevara are going to end up going at it here soon. But MJF, right? I always get initials. He's setting all this up because Darby's got to fight to possibly win as well, but he's got to fight Sammy Guevara, and whoever wins that goes on. Sammy Guevara just fought Jungle Boy, right? Jack Perry. Yeah, and there was a little bit of shenanigans going on in there with that one. So
I think I definitely think you're going to see him against Darby, and because that brings Sting to Wembley, and it's a whole thing. So that has to because
he's retiring soon as well. He's going to step back. So he says, right? But and then the tag team champions there with FTR. Those guys are great now. Like, I like their other gimmick where they came up in the old car. It was like, oh, dude, really? No. I guess they like old cars. Okay, cool. But I like what they're doing now. They just come in going, well, you think we're old? Hell, now we're going to beat the crap out of you.
Well, it's going to get interesting with those guys if Punk comes back, is that's going to be the faction. It's going to be FTR and Punk with somebody else against the Elite. So that's shaping up to be nice. The Punk thing is very interesting to me because it was such a whirlwind. And I really want to like have him be like not the asshole, but it just appears that he's a fucking.
It's because he's straight edge, man. He can never take the edge off of his stress. So he blows up on people and he says things that he shouldn't say. Yeah. Go home, smoke a doobie, man, and relax. He'd probably be fine. Jeez Louise. Don't be so angry, my friend. Dude, people get stressed. And they just blurt things out at people, especially first thing in the morning. I don't know if you notice that about humans, but in the morning, you got to watch what you say and do to people in the morning. You do. He doesn't have that because he's just straight edge. He's like on the edge all the time. Like, my nerves, my emotions.
One thing I do love about him though is the
I like him a lot. I think he's great.
Is that he really will sit up there and just call it out and be like, hey, you know what? Executive VP, what? Like, fuck off. Like,
I like that. Well, he doesn't like Elite. And we know that he doesn't like Elite, and I like that. We all know that I don't like the Elite.
Sounds like him and Jericho are going to get into it. So it's a whole thing.
Yes. Great. Okay, so let's go on. So our main subject, though, as Bounce and Bill tried to get on the show, if you folks see that promo was awesome.
I saw that.
Got a lot of views. Got over 2,000 views there in the one day. That was good. I like it. Thank you. Thank you, folks. Thank you. All right, so what we're going to do, top 5 best WWE, WWF intro songs for wrestlers. I'm going classic here. I'm basically going classic with all this. And I'm going to throw 3 that are just awful as well. But I'm going to do 5 here that I think are fantastic. Now, this one, I bet you don't remember this one. Okay, this one's by the Stallions.
The Young Stallions, Paul Roma.
Yeah, do you remember their song?
I don't know their song. Lonnie,
Excuse me.
I have to put, yeah.
Just let me. I'll keep talking until it's ready. But the style, I couldn't believe. Like I was going through all the songs, and this one came out. And I was like, it's so bad, it's good. It's okay. Here we go. Look at those young stallions. Look at those. Huh?
Oh, I remember this song.
Yeah, dude. I got to give them bonus points if there's lyrical content and a guy singing. Because like the Warriors was great, but there's no vocals. Okay, ready?
I remember this.
Huh?
Oh, that's from Jimmy. That's Jimmy Hart singing that. That was on the wrestling album. That was on the wrestling album.
How great is that?
Yeah, it was great. I remember that song now. I remember that now.
There you go. So that one, I was like, oh, it's so bad, it's good. That was like pure 80s gold right there, right? Because that's my number 5. Do you have yours in a list, or you just want to throw some in after?
Well, I've got, we can do your 5. I think
Okay.
you and I share one anyways. So
Okay, so the next one is, and this is the original Hart Foundation one. I don't know which one you brought up, if you got Bret Hart's theme, but I was thinking the original Hart Foundation theme. Do you remember the difference between the two?
I'd have to listen to it, but I'll know it as soon
Check
as I
this
hear
out.
it.
Here we go. Oh, it's again Jimmy Hart again.
Yeah.
That chorusy guitar that was in every friggin' song because they just figured out how to put it through a computer. Yeah, there you go. And that's just basically that riff, but now in a higher octave. Down.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Down. Okay, thanks, son. That one. So yeah, that one just brought back. Oh, it's Hart Foundation. Nice. Okay, that's my number 4. Number 3, dude. Because I'm the honky tonk man. Because I'm the honky tonk man. It was perfect for him. It was just this guy's one of the best, I think, in my opinion. He should be as rich as anybody. I think who's played the game of wrestling, because I always love this guy. And I don't, here we go. Here's the honky tonk man, and he did this himself too, I believe, right? Demolition wrestling theme.
That's a great one.
Honky tonk man. Honky tonk man. And then there's Scary Sherry there doing the thing. Honky tonk man. Okay, thanks.
Well, that was great.
bad.
That was WrestleMania 6 I was at there, and Sherry was in there. Greg Valentine's driving the car.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a whole
That's
thing.
great. So that's my number 3. Number 2. No, it's okay. We'll find it after. You got time.
It's
So the
not-
next
yeah.
one. The next one is number 2. Now this is, I think, the only one that didn't have. Oh, other than the Hart Foundation. This is the Ultimate Warriors theme song, because the way it hit, everybody's just like, bow, 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 right?
Yeah, it
So
was a big
when
one.
this one hit, but there's no lyrics to it, so it couldn't be my number 1. It's all right. And this is by Jim Johnson. That's a very stereotypical name. Yeah! Like I can hear the crowd, right? It's the Ultimate Warrior!
Especially this part here where he comes running down.
Bump, bump. When the bass kicks in,
That kick drum.
or the kick. Boom, 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 boom. Nice.
Yeah, that was great.
That's my number 2. That's a great one there. And number 1, of course, I was going over the number 1. It's kind of, I was kind of going between Ric Flair and this one, but Ric Flair's is like a song. It's just, he just chose it well. It's just, so I went with, and this is an obvious one, you have this, I think, as well, is that I Am a Real American.
That
The
was
Hulk Hogan
actually
theme song.
that
And it was somebody
actually-
else's at first, right?
It was Barry Windham and Mike
There you go.
Rotundas, the U.S. Express.
Yeah. This is just perfect, though, for Hogan, right? Like, just... And the chorus is actually a really good chorus, I think. You know what I mean?
It
Like,
is.
I think
It's
the
Rick
chorus is
Derringer.
really done. Really good, yeah. So it's hard to keep the professional guys out of it,
But this pre-chorus though in an arena was such a big thing.
that's
and then,
the classic D to C, and then they go down to the G, right?
And then at the end of it with the high pitched voice of the lady and stuff, and he's flexing. I mean, come on, it started a whole generation.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks.
And,
yeah.
and
So,
when that thing hits, dent. Like
Yeah.
I mean, as a kid, it was just forget it.
it was it, wasn't it? So that was mine too. That was my number one as well. Yeah. Now, do you
Well,
have
that was
any?
okay. Well, that was number one for me. But let's
Mm-hmm.
go back. I mean, we got to go Ric Flair, and it's just because sometimes these songs make the person, right?
They do,
So
yeah.
like, or not make the person, but it's just that absolutely perfect scenario where it's like, oh, you know what? It's like you just anytime you hear that song now,
Mm-hmm.
like no matter where they do it, it's his now. It's
Right.
his, even though it wasn't his. But it was like it's an
And
old
his-
it's a classic piece of music.
Unless you're a Stanley Kubrick fan, then it still reminds you of 2001: Space Odyssey. That's what I mean.
Understood, but
It's so epic. That's my point. It's so epic that, yeah. And sidebar, Charlotte Flair uses this with a.
Yeah, totally.
It's this, but they put the disco
that's-
beat behind it, right?
That's number,
Yeah.
and a lot of these themes are going to be. That's okay, like a lot of these themes are going to be the same as far as what we grew up on and what we associated with.
Yeah.
And I realized that I didn't have Macho Man in there, and I really loved Macho Man.
Yeah, that
as
was,
well.
but they're so similar, right? It's the
But
same
yeah,
kind of thing. The big operatic intro, really good. though.
Ricky Steamboat's 80s WWF one I really liked because it was the build of like there was something about Steamboat because he wasn't quite there as far as main eventer, but it was
Yeah.
like it had this feel to it like he was gonna be.
Because he
So
did in
when-
WCW, right? Like he
Right.
gave Ric Flair some amazing matches.
But when that song hit, it was like
The World Wrestling Federation. For over 50 years, the revolutionary force in sports
yeah, right.
entertainment.
Dun, dun, dun. But this was like, yeah. I remember like when this came out, I remember being so. And I met Ricky Steamboat in Toronto at a car show, and this
Nice.
was like the thing. Yeah. So this is another classic piece of music. That's
yeah,
not really
from the
his.
80s, right?
Right.
Bow.
But-
They used this at the beginning of the wrestling show as well.
But when that came, out, it was just like, bow, you know what I mean? And you're
Like
like,
you can hear the
"Yes."
crowd.
WrestleMania 3. Yeah, so for me, that's the picture I had signed actually. Right there.
Nice, that's awesome.
So
really
there's
cool.
that. So that was a big
Yeah.
one because I was such a Steamboat mark, and I was like, this is the best thing in the world. Okay, I gotta go. And speaking of guys that own it,
Yeah.
it's Rick Rude. I mean, Rick
Oh,
Rude's
yeah.
80s theme was like
That was it was like a male dancer theme
totally,
song, right?
but it was like the way he walked to the ring.
Oh,
he had
yeah.
the robe, and,
he
you
had
knew what
different
it was,
pants with somebody's face on his crotch area. Jim Johnson getting it done.
This was my. He's walking. Shut up! Well,
Yeah.
these Tennessee sweat hogs. It was just
Nice.
perfect, right? Like
Yeah.
because like the mustache made the whole thing, and then like, you know that was great. So that was great because he played it on the way to the ring, and then he played it after he told everyone to shut up, and he's doing the whole hip thrust thing. It was it was so great because it was such a. It's such a fuck you to everybody. Like,
Yeah.
like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I thought that was really good. Okay, number 2, Edges. So
Edge's theme song?
I mean, his original theme song was one thing, but I think this is the best switch of a theme song.
Who's this by? This is by somebody,
it's,
right?
It's Alter Bridge, yeah, but it's
Oh,
the
it's
best.
Alter Bridge. Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
best-
See, so this is an example. A lot of the songs have
You
this.
think you know me?
This here it is, the riff, and then he'll come in and sing nicely, and then the riff.
But you know why I dig it? It's because it just feels great. It's just such a great intro song.
Is it coming just the way I was talking about before, though?
Yeah. So it's
You ready for it? It's coming, isn't it?
yeah. What's at the end of it? So
I got it here. Just let it keep running for a second, because I'm not privy to this song at all. But I'm waiting for the.
he goes to a higher pitch thing here. Right here.
There it is. One chord, dude. There it is. Totally called
So
it.
anyway,
Just like the.
I love it. I love the song. That's good, Lonnie. I think it's
Oh
the
my
best.
gosh.
I think it's the best switch because his old song was like "You Think You Know Me" and
That's
it
a
had
great
this kind
song.
of thing. This is the best switch to a new theme song because I loved. Whereas the other way, it was funny because so Punk had Five Finger Death Punches, which I thought was super rad, and then he switched to Cult of Personality by Living Color, which some would argue is the better choice, but I'm not sure which one I like better.
Yeah, and the Elite is now using 70 songs, right? Carry On Your Wayward Son and stuff.
Yeah,
Awesome.
which is great. So I kind of looked at that switch that Edge made, and that's what qualifies it for me.
Was our conversation we had about how they write new metal wrestling songs? Is that on this? Was that before we started going live or no?
No, that was before.
Oh man, because I described that song to an exact T.
Yeah, and so then the thing is that if you notice it, it's happening more now. That to me on that song, it's more of a rock song that Adam pulled in and did the thing because he also pulled it from the other song that they did.
You should just keep using "So They Heaven."
Oh, that was great.
That was great. Okay, so Edge, that's
and then number one is Real American, which we did. And
yes,
then
and we did
honorable,
that.
Honorable mentions for me are the Models, Rick Martel's song.
I heard that one today as well. Yeah,
which live was like that was great. But Demolition's song,
right?
This is an honorable mention as like as for me as like. Open hat. Here comes the axe.
Yeah.
It's here comes the axe. Here comes the smasher.
Yep, that's exactly what. Here comes the axe. Here comes the smasher. It's like sounds like Alice Cooper singing it or something.
Yeah,
right?
It's great. I love it. So
decent.
That's definitely a thing. For
I like Cody Rhodes' new song. It changes the metal format of right. See, this is the thing. And Todd nailed this. I got to get the clip of it. He nailed my attitude towards like rock, metal, and stuff like that. Is that I know how it's going to be made so much that it's almost disappointing because it comes out exactly the way I know it's going to come. I would love a band that came out and created something other than verses and choruses. I don't know, man. It's so predictable now.
Progressive. It's called progressive rock.
Yeah, but but something that was catchy. Sorry, I didn't throw the word catchy in there, right? That wasn't math rock, right? But I like Cody's song; it's pretty good. And I meant no disrespect towards Edge's song at all by predicting what was. It was just funny because we had a conversation before where I was describing how, and that was it. They have that one chord, one note, and they riff on it, and then they come in with this huge multi-leveled layered vocal chorus that and then they go back to that one note, that one chord, which I predicted, and I thought that was pretty wild. And then I joked that Brett and I could write everybody's music in a day because that's what we used to do when we were bored. When we were bored, we'd say, "All right, E-Jam, man." We just do that when we were bored.
Well, one of the things that I noticed that they had let go the main WWE songwriter guy a couple of years ago, and there was just something different about the WWE theme music.
Right.
That WCW had their kind of like I know we joked about the Young Stallions, but the WCW had more of the where they had the keyboards in there like and
one thing they lost though. That they lost this that they should have just kept and at least let's kept the lyrics for this and put it to a new song. Now this is the Ass Man, and apparently this is by Billy Gunn. He wrote these lyrics, so this is one of my very worst wrestling intro songs ever. You don't need to hear the song; you just need to hear the lyrics. Okay? Yeah. I'm an ass man. Yeah. I'm an ass man. Yeah. I love to love 'em. I love to kick 'em. I love to shove 'em. I love to stick 'em. Love to flaunt 'em. I love to watch 'em. I love to pick 'em. He likes to pick 'em. And I'm going to kick 'em. Now, I'm an ass man. Yeah, I'm an ass man. So many asses, so little time. Only a tight one can stop me on a dime. I'm a lover of every kind. Best surprises always sneak up from behind. I'm an ass man. Yeah. Okay, so that goes down as one of my worst. And you don't need to hear the song. I also didn't like... Can we get Lita's up here just so we can hear this? This has got it. Can we hear Lita's song? If you can find it for me, just take your time. The other one we were mentioning was Shawn Michaels, and I don't know. I know it's one of those ones that's so bad it's bad. So to me, some are so bad it's good. That one was so bad it was bad.
Well, it's funny because I think originally when it came out, it wasn't him singing.
Right.
I think it was He's a Sexy Boy, and then I think they changed it to Sean actually doing the lyric, like actually singing.
Yeah,
it,
both
which-
is really bad.
Which made it double down assholeness.
Yeah, I just didn't
Right?
like it. Maybe,
Yeah, I
maybe
mean,
it just
you're not
maybe it just
supposed to like
really
it.
worked. No, I'm saying maybe
Yeah.
it just really worked. But there's so like the Honky Tonk Man. Nobody liked him. I liked the song. I just thought it was good, and it worked with him well. I thought it was good presentation with him. Now this one we're going to listen to here. This is my example of some really bad metal. I first heard this on the video game. This is Lita's theme song.
2000. Oh my god.
Isn't that terrible guitar, dude? Some pack your rose bag. What? She's gonna unpack her rose bag?
No, I'm good. I was never a fan of that song, but
Okay, that's great. That I've got my rose bag. I have no idea what's going on there, but that's just a terrible. That is a bad
think
song.
about the bands that it was funny though. If you
Was
think
that a
about-
band? Was that a band? Like an actual
Oh,
band?
I'm
Or was
sure
that?
it was. It had to have
Okay.
been. It had to
That's-
have been because they had a lot of those like early 2000 bands.
You hear that guitar?
Like,
that acoustic.
Whoever, like, let the bodies hit the floor. A lot of those kind of bands do theme music. You know.
But that's a horrible song. That song by Lita. Sorry, Lita. I'm a fan of Lita too. She's got a different one now.
You know what's
That's a bad
interesting?
song.
I went last week to see Muse and in Seattle, and they had Evanescence open up for them, and I was like, I'm not really in a rush to see that at all. And I was like, just found myself at the gig early, and I'm like, all right, let's go check it out.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, man. She gets points for sticking it out because
she's amazing. She's really
she could have.
good.
She
Amy Lee.
really could have just packed it in and said, I don't know. But she's got a hell of a band, and the show was deadly. And I was like, I like being impressed. I was not going into that thinking I was going to be impressed at all. And I got to tell you, Amy Lee, Evanescence, hell of a job.
Yeah, Taylor really likes her. She grew up listening to a lot of her stuff, and it's funny because I read an article that from Amy Lee, and she was saying that her biggest problem with her earlier stuff was the rapping in there, and he said it was forced onto her music, and she just didn't get it. That Mooney
song,
guy, right? That Mooney, that songwriter guy.
Ben Moody, that song that they have Immortal, or it's just her on the piano, has got to be it's one of the best pieces of music.
Yeah.
Like what a hook. Anyway,
she's really talented, man.
Super
Super
talented.
talented.
I just wanted to mention that because
That's what we call a sidebar.
That was a sidebar, but I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Fucking impressed.
Okay, so do we have time to should we?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to, we don't have to run the intro thingy for the conspiracy theories. This is a quick one. I just want to touch on this one, as it's something that I think a lot of my fans who like the cult stuff that we're doing should be aware of. This is called remote viewing. And of course, to get the full effect of all these subjects that I talk about, you really should just Google them or YouTube them. And all you got to do is spend like 5 minutes on these videos to get a quick gist of what I'm talking about. And then you can decide for yourself whether it's worthy of looking into or not. Now, I like to think that the things that I bring up on this show are worthy of looking into, or else I wouldn't bring them up. Like Bigfoot seems like a Canadian thing, especially to look into. The Anunnaki stuff, where we came from, the Bible stuff, that's, you should look into that. Bob Lazar and Area 52 is something that I really think you should look into. This is another one called remote viewing, and this is awesome. Now, it is exactly what it sounds like, remote viewing. You're sitting somewhere, but you're seeing inside another area. Okay, this is very Professor X, X-Men, Marvel Comics kind of thing, mental telepathy type thing. Now, don't get this confused with a psychic or somebody who goes off into a trance and takes in energies and stuff to do. This is totally scientific and with your brain, which is what turned me onto this, because I am a true believer that if you can control your brain, you can control everything that you do around you. I think our brain is a marvel of workmanship, of electronics, of magnitude that nobody can explain. I think there's so many things we can do with our brain that we are not aware of yet, and we need to be taught how to open up some of those things. Now, this is a great opportunity, if somebody agrees with me on this, to look into this, because what we're doing here, okay, Brent, we have two sides to our brain, right? You've always heard that, right?
Yes.
The left and the right side, one does one does the other, right? So think of them as two columns, and one activates the other. Now, if I say guitar to you, what did you immediately think of?
Guitar me?
No, if I say to you, now what do you, like guitar, when I say to you guitar,
I think of music. I think of a song.
when I say red, what do you think of?
Red and blood.
Blood. Okay, so what you want to do is get in the frame of mind where you think of something like that, but you don't get the right brain response. Okay, so but you need to do it with, like, to me, like if I think of something like I'll think of hockey stick. Oh damn, you know what I mean? Like, so those are tough ones. So what these people do in their training is that's one of their training exercises, is to think red but have nothing of conscious in the other side of the brain. So that's my point of this. The cat's right in my face here. She's going to knock everything over. You can't see her, but wow. Yeah, lost my train of thought. Thanks, Peach. So this is different than doing the psychic thing, because you're not just like clearing your brain. You're actually using your brain. It's exact opposite. So what they've been doing this again since the late 70s, early 80s. Now, what they were doing with this was giving people, what they do mainly is and this is the other difference between them and psychics. Psychics, you give them a picture or a piece of paper with something on it, or a piece of clothing, or all they get. This is the opposite with this. They give these people like the numbers of where this place is located on a map, okay, or a shape, and then they give them a location on a map, like 82 by something, however the scheme of things are, and they sit there and they click the number into the one side of their brain, they follow it, and then they wait for something on the right side of the brain to click in with it. So instead of us thinking red, apple, bike, ride, they're thinking bike. No, what's going to come to me? What comes to me when I say bike? What comes to me when this happens? So this is how they train. So I just find this so instead of like lifting weights and working on their cardio, they're working on their left and their right side of the brain. I think that's really cool. How cool is that? So say you're sitting on a plane somewhere and you're really, really bored. you can. What are you doing? Exercising my brain. Okay, but you know what? Like it's really, really cool. So this is what they do with this. So this is what they did in the 80s. And there's the people talk about it. Like there's groups. Again, it's one of those things where if you put it in YouTube or put it in Google, you're going to crack open this huge world that started so long ago. So back in the 80s, they were trying to look into Russian things and Chinese things. And where do you think they're looking now?
Oh, man.
Up there, buddy. Mars.
Oh, in space? Oh, in Mars?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So now so you'll find some cool little documentaries on these people that are apparently finding these places on Mars if they're given the location. They'll be like, no, there's nothing. They'll give them another number. No, nothing. Wait, I got something here. And then they'll zero in with their satellite and find something. So is it a hoax? I don't know. It's definitely conspiracy theory, because the government has been using these people since for sure the early 80s. Okay. And as I say, the progression of this one has grown from just spying on other people to looking into space to seeing things out there. It's said that it's almost like putting your head right inside a room and then pulling your head right back. It's so cool to look into. And these are like government people that are talking about. It's not people like me with long hair and smoking a doob, right? Like, hey, I could see everything. It was smoking great. Well, it's not like that. It's like these business people, man. It's really, really decent. And some of them still are talking about it and still doing it. And they're the ones that are talking about things they're finding on Mars. So that's my conspiracy theory for today, is the remote viewing. And that's your homework for the Cult of Machete fans out there. If you want to look into any more of that, it's really studying the brain. And it's a pretty exciting journey. I like this one. As I say, I'm not going to give you ones that I think are really, really too government seated that are going to drive you nuts and make you, afraid to go outside of your house. I want to give you stuff that's just going to kind of expand your mind. And if you can exercise your brain, as I say, man, if you can control your brain, I think you can control like a lot, most of the things you want to do in life. Because as I mentioned before, you are the only one that knows what's going on in your head. You are the only one that knows whether you're doing things right or wrong. You know when you're doing something wrong. Or if something feels wrong, when somebody, you shouldn't be, you should do this job. You don't do that job. You should do this job. Your brain's telling you, no, it's not for me. It might take me an extra year to get where I want to be. But I got to listen to what it says in my head. I think if people start doing that more, we're going to start getting a lot of more better decisions done.
That means you'd have to actually ask them to do something that they're not comfortable with, which this world and generation right now is like, you want me to do what?
Yeah. Well, it's easy to pick out what somebody else is doing wrong, but it's really hard to pick out what you're doing wrong. You know what I mean? Like that's the toughest thing. And kids today's, they don't have good defense mechanisms anymore. They can't cope with stuff that's outside of their box, it seems. And trust me, if you're saying, how do you know? I know, don't I, buddy? I see a lot of kids, man, sometimes 30 at a time. So don't tell me I don't know, folks. Don't coddle your kids too much. Be good to your kids, but make sure you keep it real, my friends. One thing I'm enjoying is seeing these kids at these punk rock shows, because they're not seeing anything violent. Their people are hurting each other. They're not seeing any guns. There's not a lot of swearing. And if there is, you can't really understand what they're saying. No. But they're at these shows. And as I was giving kudos to the Broom Factory in town, my friends Mark and Moira, they make it so if there's kids there's a spot for them, man. There's a spot for them. They have earplugs, they have headphones for them. So kids shouldn't be afraid of things that they shouldn't be afraid of, if that makes any sense. So of course, you don't send your kid walking down the street at 10 o'clock at night. No, your kid should not be staying out, drinking alcohol when they're young. No, but they shouldn't be afraid of common things.
Well, they're only going to be, it's like anything else though, man. It's like, you can't, if the kids haven't been taught it, then they won't know it. So if you don't put it in their head I understand kids have anxiety and people have anxiety,
but you got to thick your skin up a bit, right?
You can't be like, if you put it in their head that there might be a thing, then they're probably going to make it a thing. And that's why I'm of the thing. It's like, we solve it as it comes instead of creating something to solve.
Yep.
You're right. Mm-hmm. So we solve it. It's like, you're going through this. Great. What led to this moment of your strat? Like, what led to this section right now where you're struggling? What led? Let's walk it backwards instead of going, well, remember when I told you 4 weeks ago that this person was going to do this? It's kind of like, let's deal with it as it is, walk backwards to see how we got there. And I'm finding that that's working for a teaching side of things. But I mean, it's going to change every week because it's a 14-year-old daughter. So, so as you know, but whatever, it's been a journey for sure. And what did you say? You said you control your brain, you control your
pretty much everything. But you got to be honest with yourself, man. You got to be honest with yourself. That's for sure.
And as Newman says, when you control the mail, you control information.
You do. Yeah. You do. Yeah. Well, kids got to have thicker skin. And there's one thing the parents could teach the kids. If there's something you don't like, you can turn the channel. I hate country music. It puts me in a really, really bad mood, but I do not make it my life's function to get other people to stop listening to country music.
If you don't like it, you make it your mission to make everyone else not like it.
Don't turn the channel. Have you ever known me to like country music, Brent? Have you ever known country music to make me feel good, Brent? No. Have you ever known country music to calm my nerves, Brent? Have you ever known me to reach out to country music for comfort?
No.
But you know what I do, Brent? I just don't listen to it. In my world, it doesn't even exist. Exactly. People say, have you heard the new Travis Tritt song? That's how out of touch I am with country music. And I say, Travis Tritt? No, I have not. See, I don't even know what a country music fan is or country music artist. But that's my point. Folks, start turning the channel, a little tougher skin. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay, right?
Be excellent.
Party on and be excellent to yourself and your friends. And watch and go Leafs go. Coughington. I am a real
What was that line? Are we playing that? We're over. Bye.
We're done. Bye, everybody. I am a real Canadian. Fight for my heart.